Hello, Figuring It Out family. Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Aggie. And as you have already noticed over a couple of weeks now, I am bringing on extremely amazing guests. And today we have Helen Rodger with us. She is an amazing woman, a mother of three. She is living in the diaspora in the UK. She is a mompreneur and doing a lot of amazing work in the social space. And of course, she is a woman who loves the Lord. Helen, it is great to have you here, and I'm looking forward to discussing the art of contentment with you.
Thank you. Thanks, Aggie, for having me on today. I'm looking forward to share what I've got to share.
Yeah, good to have you. It's a little bit of a tradition that when I have a guest on, I start with an icebreaker. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions back to back. Try not to think too much about it and just give me the quickest, most honest answer that you can find.
Okay, great.
Are you a sweet or salty popcorn girl?
Ooh, I'm a very sweet, I believe, popcorn girl. I think I have a bit of a mix, sweet and salty, but I would go for sweet.
Okay. Heels or sneakers?
Ooh, you should have added wedges or sneakers. I'm more of a sneakers girl.
Okay.
I love comfort.
Yeah, me too. Meat or salad?
Ooh, meat any day.
Apple or Android?
Android, 100%.
Okay. Pepsi or cola?
Cola any day.
Sun or snow?
Sunshine.
And one last one, R&B or reggaeton?
Reggaeton. I love a good reggaeton music. 100%.
Nice. Love it. That was really fun. So good to have you here. Today we're going to be talking about the art of contentment. Can you share why this topic rings so deeply with you?
Thank you so much, Aggie. I think contentment is something that we all desire or we're all looking for. And with social media and with a lot of show and tell, like we have a lot of show and tell of our lives, it's very easy to be kind of like swayed into thinking, oh, I want Aggie's life, or I want Helena's life, or I want something that you possibly can't have, but you yearn to have. And then we go all out trying to find those things, like we're constantly chasing. But I think the real sense of how we get content where we are, it doesn't matter what Aggie is achieving, it doesn't matter what somebody else is doing. How do I, in where I am right now, how do I feel contentment and actually embrace what I have rather than feeling the need to be somebody else or have somebody else's something?
Yeah.
So I think I believe it's something that we all have to practice. It's an art that we all have to practice because it's not easy. It's not easy to be contented. And simple things like, oh, I want to buy that car or I want to buy that house. It's about setting goals. I'm sure if you want something, you will get to it. But in that moment where you are, how do you settle for what you have and not feel the need to have something else from somebody or what they have? I think it's a skill that we all need right now.
I hear you. And I mean, when you talk about wanting someone else's life, could you maybe unpack for us the idea of with every blessing comes responsibility? Because social media, I mean, you're a mom of three, for example. I'm sure that's a handful of activities and work and responsibilities that people don't necessarily see in the background. Can you talk to us about the responsibility that comes with every blessing? Because yes, you want the car. Yes, you want the car that, I don't know, let's create a person out there called Richard. Yeah, Richard is driving a Lexus and you want it, but then you're not necessarily in that moment thinking about the insurance fees or whatever else in terms of responsibilities that he has to take on in order to roll with that Lexus. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
I guess a lot of us show that thing. Richard will show that car, but Richard is not going to show the journey of when he's got that car. And I'm sure that there's a lot of ups and downs, and there's a huge responsibility. Okay, like for
Yeah.
example, in Scotland, you will like most of us have houses on mortgages. Okay,
Yeah.
you have a house on a, you have a beautiful house. That house is going to come with a hefty mortgage that you
Yeah.
have to pay. Okay, meaning
Yeah.
in the background, you really have to work very hard to make
Yeah.
sure that you can afford to live that lifestyle. So for example, I mean, there's people that will work two jobs, you know,
Yeah.
husband and wife, and what's happening. For example, if you have kids like me, you're
Yeah.
using your time to work to pay for these things rather than using your time to spend quality time with your children. So that's the sacrifice that you have to do. And I feel that usually we don't see the sacrifices. We see the end result, or we see the end goal, and then we think, oh, if Richard, well, let's go back to our persona, Richard,
Yeah.
driving that car, I want that car, but you don't know what Richard has to go through to get that car, or you don't know why. So again, it's about understanding your own circumstances
Yeah.
and live within your means.
Yeah. Yeah. You have done some work in the past on helping various types of people with finances and just making people a little bit more money smart, so to speak. And I once saw this. It was like a placard. I can't find the English word. Like a shield that
Right.
said, "Do not have a Louis Vuitton bag that only has like one. Do not have a 3,000
500
euro."
Louis Vuitton bag with £1 in it.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you talk about living within your means, would you be able to share like everyday little tweaks that people can do where finances are concerned that would still allow for a happy, maybe even showy life, but without necessarily spending too much money trying to please people that aren't even watching, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So money is a very sensitive topic for many people. You and I, Aggie, we know we didn't learn about it in school. And I don't know about you, but my parents didn't talk to me about money. And half the time they would say, oh, we don't have money for that, or we don't have money for this. So money was always a subject that you can't really figure out until you're either responsible, you're holding responsibilities of your own. So you start thinking, oh my goodness, I've never had to pay bills. Now I have to pay bills, especially in the diaspora where we're loaded with a lot of bills and you can't get away from it. Like you have to pay those bills. So you start working backwards and thinking, oh, what do I do? Remember where we live, I don't know about you, but where we are, it's a very credit economy. So it's very easy to say, oh, you can get that car on credit. The house is mortgaged. The phone is on credit. Even now you can get clothes on credit. So it's very easy to spiral in a very negative financial situation. And then you get to a point you can't get back into it. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I usually tell people is if your husband and wife, for example, it's a good idea to work together on your finances. It's not the easiest because we all have different money habits.
Yeah.
But it's a very good idea to work on your finances together, I think working together will achieve your goals better.
Yeah.
Do you know there's this saying that says if you want to go near, go by yourself, but if you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
So you think about it, if say me and my husband, we both earn £500, we bring £1,000 together, we can plan for it better. And because it's a pot of money we're working with, it means that we kind of like know what's outgoing, what's incoming, what can we spend on and when and how. So having that visual of your money together is always a good start. But we shouldn't be lured into the credit economy, where everything is on credit. First of all, I always ask myself, do I need it? Yeah, if I do need it, I need it. I'm going to buy it. Okay.
Yeah.
Do I want it? Do I just want it? If I just want it, I will sleep on it. So if I'm in a shop, I see a nice handbag, I have a handbag already, I'm going to go, okay, maybe I'll come back tomorrow. Yeah. And it's amazing that a difference of 12 hours, what that does. You'll probably at some point think, you know what, actually, I don't need that bag. It was just an impulse buy. I'm not going to use it. And you will leave it. Yeah. But I think managing money is a very it's a very important life skill that we should all have. We should teach. For moms and dads out there, I feel it's important to start talking to your kids from a very early age, talking about money, so that when they're in responsibility or when they start earning their money, they actually know what to do. They understand investment, they understand debt, they understand earning, they understand income. And so I believe those are some of the things that we can impact on our children.
Yeah, yeah, I totally feel you. I had the privilege of spending some time with an OG,
Okay.
and we were talking about relationships as we view them in the diaspora versus how people view them on our continent, on the African continent,
Sure.
and she was like, "Sure, this thing of money together with a guy, it's just like unthinkable. There are trust issues and so on and so
Yeah.
forth." So what advice would you give to a woman out there? Because women, we are very entrepreneurial by nature, right? We're naturals by nature. We want to grow our homes and so on. But what do I do if I'm in a relationship with someone I don't feel I can trust with my 500 pounds, and yet I still want to build myself? Like, how can I go this journey solo? Or how can I go? Maybe solo is being too solution oriented from my side, but what can I do to still make the same progress or
Yeah,
have
that's
changes?
a very tricky question because it's very, very personal. I mean, I'll share my own story, and it can be very difficult. But when we get in relationships, there's a lot of things that we don't know, okay, that we don't know about the other person. And one thing that I'm hoping that your viewers, our listeners, can take away is, if you're already in a relationship or before you jump into a relationship, there are certain aspects of life that you have to talk about. You just have to discuss it at the beginning of the relationship. If you've already passed that stage and it's like, I still don't trust this guy, I'm not quite sure, it's about that mutual respect and understanding each other. Like, personally, my husband is very like he's a spendaholic. He loves spending. He loves living on a day to day. He's like, well, life is for living. Let's do this. Let's just enjoy it. Whereas I'm more of a person who says, what about tomorrow? What about the next day? What about next year? Like, I love to plan and I love to think long term. He's very
Yeah,
short term oriented. So when it comes to tasks around what we're doing next week, how should we have fun next week, he's the person to go to. What we're doing next year, or what are we doing in 5 years, I'm the person to think more about, okay, so maybe if we want to move house, this is how we can go about it. And it's
yeah,
about listening to each other, knowing each other's strengths, knowing each other's weaknesses, and
yeah,
working with them, you
yeah,
know, and not using those against the other person. Because women, we're, like, I don't want to be condemning, but we're very good at, but you're not good at this, but you don't
yeah,
do this well. What about you pick up what he does well, and you pick up what you do well as well, So I think it's a conversation to be had, usually at the beginning of a relationship. And if you've not had it at that point, I guess it's having that mutual respect. We have to pay bills. Bills have to be paid. Okay. So this is how we're going to do it. You pick up the house, I'll pick up the car. You pick up the council tax, I'll pick up the gas and electric. Depending on your relationship, I think what would work best is to talk. I believe communication is just the problem solver of every problem.
wow,
If you talk about a situation, if you listen to each other, I believe we wouldn't have, because there's a lot of usually misconceptions, assumptions, overthinking, overreacting, even without knowing why. But me and my
mm,
husband, we sat down and he said, you know what, Helena, I just love spending. I love to live in the moment. I'm not gonna wait. And I said, well, I'm not quite like that. This is how I love to do things. And then we just find a middle ground where I'm not completely taking him out of the picture. He's not completely taking me out of the picture, but because we've communicated where
yeah,
we're and how we are, it helps us. Even when I make a mistake, when he makes a mistake, I kind of already know that, okay, that's where he's at, that this is where I am. So it's a very tricky question because it's very personal. Personal,
yeah,
like money, especially in a relationship, it's very, very personal.
yeah. I hear you. I hear. We send grace to everyone out there who's struggling. That they may be able to communicate. How are you passing this wisdom on to your children?
my children are very, very involved in my day to day. So, for example, they wanted to go to a concert. They want to go to a concert in London. We live in Edinburgh. It's very expensive. Like it's a day. We
Mm.
have to go to London, but we have to think about accommodation, the tickets to the concert, the train, the travel there. So usually, what I do now, my kids are a bit older, so it's much nicer because they kind of like get engaged with what we're doing. So I'll say to them, okay, just go and do a budget for the weekend, how we're gonna do it. And they start to see how much money we spend when we're doing certain things. And they're like,
Mm.
oh my goodness, mommy, that's a lot of money that, can we cut down here? So because they're very involved in day-to-day things, we go shopping together. I'll ask them, what do you think we should take? Should we take this type or should we take this? What's more expensive? And they see it. They all have like bank cards. They get pocket money from their grandparents, their aunties, so they have a sense of when to spend and how to spend, and they're all different. All my kids are
Mm.
different. I have one who is a very holder of money. They don't want to spend at all. I have one who, as soon as they get their money, they want to spend some of that money, and enjoy it, And then I have one who wants just to treat everybody just because they have money. They just want to go and buy ice cream, buy this for somebody. But they're all different, and we embrace all those difference in that. Okay, for the person who doesn't want to spend, okay, maybe you can spend when we go to big church day out or whatever. You can treat us at that point because you're saving. It is quite different for each one, but I think getting involved in your day to day, my parents did not involve me a lot in their money things. Okay, and we had
Yeah.
a shop where we would help out in the holidays, and that's how you knew that, okay, this is what I do with money. This is the change. This is the money that's going to supplies. This is going to buy stuff. But sitting down and having conversations about money, I don't really ever remember
Yeah.
that happening. But we have money meetings. I have money meetings with my kids, with my husband. Like we do, because it's a very big part of your life, and it's a very big part that can either make you or break you as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, as I said, communication is very important to constantly talk about it, especially when you feel you're on the edge of, I feel like I don't really like this, what you're doing and how you're doing it. Please communicate it in a way that's very respectful, and in a way that is not accusational. I
Yeah.
think in any relationship, be it your children, be it your husband, be it your siblings as well, because I know there's people who do different bits with their siblings. It's about talking about things.
Yeah. I hear you. Wow. I love the fact that you send your kids off to create a budget. I wish someone had done that with me. It has saved me a lot of trouble. Kudos for all the parents out there. If your kids are asking you for stuff, let them make a budget, because
Absolutely.
it really awakens one's senses to how much is being spent. Really,
Mhm.
really cool. How do we bring God into all of this?
So that's a very, very good question. God is part of our everyday life, right?
Yeah.
Remember when we were talking about contentment? I feel that, in my opinion, that's where I find contentment in God.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in our everyday life, I think when we were talking before about doing this podcast together, it almost feels like there's gaps that we want to fill.
Yeah.
There's gaps in our lives or holes in our lives that we want to fill, and sometimes we use things,
Hmm.
material things, to try and fill those gaps. But really, what we're looking for is God, who can
Yeah.
fill those gaps for us. So making God part of your everyday. I mean, I was telling you, like, obviously you remember me in high school. I was never those kind of like saved people. But I
Same
love
here.
God.
Yeah.
I love God. And I guess those days kind of shaped who I am today, in the fact that in the morning, first thing I wake up in the morning, I'm just letting God take that day for me. Even
Mm.
before I wake up, before I get out of my bed, I have a moment of meditation about my day, about how I want God to fit in that day as well. Me and my kids, we always do affirmations
Mm.
in the morning. We do affirmations. I put gospel music on while they're waking up. Everybody's shower, breakfast, whatever. Um, and that kind of sets you for the day,
Yeah.
whatever you're gonna do. But Aggie, there's some things that I usually like. It almost sounds very silly. Like when I'm driving to God. And actually, this actually happened. I was with two of my girlfriends. We were going out to town, and it's very difficult to park in town. And I said to my girls, I said, "Don't worry, Jesus will sort it." Do you know? I wasn't even thinking about it. I wasn't meaning it.
Yeah.
But I just said, "Don't worry, Jesus will sort it. We'll get a parking space." Okay.
Yeah.
And you know what? We got a parking space.
Amen.
The next time we went to town. Remember, I wasn't thinking it. It wasn't like I'm saying it to be overly a Christian. No,
Yeah.
I was just, that is my bringing God into my everyday living. I'm looking for a parking space. God just fix it. And the next time we went to town, we were just driving looking for a parking space. Remember, my two friends are not saved. They're not Christians at all. And they just said, "Don't worry, Helena's Jesus is gonna sort the parking."
That's beautiful. Yeah.
I thought, that's really cool. Like that is cool. I didn't think about it like that. Anyway, God will sort it, and we got a parking space.
Yeah.
So God, like how we portray God, even to our friends who are non-Christian, is in the simple things.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this saying that people may never have to pick up a Bible to read the Bible, but you're the Bible that they're reading in your everyday life. And it's not to make anybody uncomfortable, like you have to be a certain way or you have to act a certain way, but simple things like kindness, like praying about a parking space. That's quite impactful to someone who is not a Christian. That it's actually, it happened. We prayed about a parking space and we got it. So to go back to your question, really, Aggie, bringing God in your everyday life, it's not like you're expecting thunder and fire from heaven and everything. It's just simply having a conversation. So the way I look at God and the way I look at God is like he's one of my people. He's like he's got my back. Like he's one of those best friends that I have, and I can just say the same way you pick up your phone and phone your best friend, like, "Okay, come, let's hang out and let's go to That is the way I feel about it. And usually when I'm picking up the Bible, I'm like this is the love letter that God wrote to me.
Yeah.
And all these things that I need are in this book or in this love letter.
Yeah.
Everything we need is in there. So yeah, just simple, your simple everyday, bringing God into your cooking, into your driving, into your work, into your children. And that's how I do it anyway.
I really, I feel blessed by the fact that you are looking at God through the eyes of love, because there are a lot of people that I pray that they reach that place where you're at right now, where they see that he's looking out for them, that he has their back, because there are some that look at God and feel like, oh, he's just waiting for me to make a mistake so he can punish me, depending on how you've learned to walk with him. But that's a really, really beautiful picture. That's a really beautiful picture. Helen, I want to pivot to mental well-being, contentment, social media. In my personal life, I reached a point where I'm very strict on who I follow, for example, because I learned that, the more you go for a certain type of thing, the more the algorithm feeds you with it. So I became very, very intentional about making sure I'm following people who are talking things that are going to build or sharing content that's going to build my spirit. But there are a lot of people out there who, they don't care. They just scroll through everything, and they're not cautious to the fact that even when you pause and just stare at something on your screen for a little while, the algorithm is picking that action up and assuming that's interesting for you, and then pushing more and more and more. And a lot of people are struggling with depression, with a lack of joy, with jealousy, with envy, comparison, and all the tricks that the enemy has up his back to steal joy. So are there any tips or perspectives that you have on this that could help someone out there, especially through the lens of being a mom?
Yeah, it's honestly, it's very, very difficult. We talked earlier about what we see and what actually is in the background, what happens in the background. So it's about staying true to yourself. Stay true to yourself. And I always believe that it's important to be who I am. I don't need to be anybody else.
Yeah.
And so I think that helps me not to want Aggie's life or not to want somebody else's life, because I really don't care. Like, it's like, that's your life. It's doing whatever it's doing for you. And that's fantastic. That's great. But for me, this is my life. This is my children. This is where I live. And I'm not really trying to be somebody else. I'm not trying to be somebody that I'm not. But it's really difficult with social media because there's a lot of influencers, like you say, that portray a life, and then we want that life, but it's not the reality. It's not the reality. So just stay true to yourself and keep your loved ones close. Because usually I feel like we've lost that. We've lost the fact that I can talk to Aggie as my friend, whereas all these other 500 people on my social media are actually not my real friends.
Yeah.
They're like virtual friends. They're not like a reality for me. If I had a problem, I'm not going to pick up the phone, or I'm not going to speak to these people on this social media. Or some people do actually. And there's a lot of like good people that will help and will give advice.
Yeah.
But keep your loved ones, people who can bring you back to reality check.
Yeah.
Keep them very close, because you need that reality check, when you're struggling.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about mental health and well-being. That's a very, very important aspect of life. Actually, it's something that I didn't know about, or I did not understand until I came to the diaspora. Like, what's depression? Why would I be depressed? But again, it goes back to what's around you. What are you surrounding yourself with?
Yeah.
Who are, like, what are you watching? Garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're taking garbage in, and there's a lot of this media is so influential. It influences how we think, how we act. So you have to make a conscious effort.
Yeah.
To say to yourself, actually, I'm not taking that in.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. Okay. If anything, to protect your peace.
Yeah.
Because do you ever see people on social media that start arguing about things that they just jumped in the comment section just to argue about something that they don't know? There's people are walking about with baggage. Okay? And they don't know how to offload that baggage, or they can't really offload that baggage in their real lives because they don't have maybe that close-knit community of people to support them. And so they just have to offload on social media. And then you take it personally. You're like, why did that person say that to me? Remember, they've got their own baggage. It's nothing to do with you. So don't take it seriously. Don't take it personally,
Yeah.
So build your mental health. Do other things. Like, social media is quite consuming, but there's so many other things we can do. Like, we can go for walks, we can dance, we can go to church. Get out of that virtual world, or virtual reality, if you like. And go in the real world and do things and find real people that will support you. I mean, I'm so blessed by so many people on social media. I've met some of my good friends on social media, but I also know that it's not the be and all. I still need my real connections in the real world to get me into the reality check. So do other things, like find purpose. Find purpose and follow that purpose. So you won't be all hung up on who said this, or who commented this, or who's driving which car, or just find purpose in what you're doing. And I think we need to train our minds. For my children, I always tell them, like, look, what you see is not real. Okay? I'm your real person. Me telling you I'm your real person, and I love you because I know you. Whatever anybody is saying to you on social media to maybe lose lose your self-esteem or whatever, it's not. They've forgotten about you. As soon as they've said that, they've gone and probably forgotten about you, but you're carrying it for a very long time. So it's not the reality. It's not real. So if you view it from that angle, which I do, like you, I had to take a very conscious effort to say, I'm not doing it. I'm not getting consumed, because you can get consumed by it.
Yeah.
I refuse to do TikTok. I do refuse to do TikTok because it's so addictive. Like, you just swiping and it's like 2 hours. Where did that time go?
Where did that go? Yeah.
What could I have done with that time? Like, I could have played a board game with my kids. I could have cooked dinner, and I could have done some emails. But you're scrolling on TikTok, and I'm like, oh my god, it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, because the world is now out there, and we are interconnected with so many people, and there's so much good as well that you can get from social media if you're intentional. It's all about what is your intention when you go on social media. There's a lot of learning, a lot of business, health, wealth, a lot of tips that you can get. But what are your goals? Why are you going to social media? Is it because you just want to consume content, or do you have specific content that you're looking for around your goals, your purpose, your faith? So I don't know, Aggie. I just feel like we all need to be in a place where you decide, you
Yeah,
be intentional about what you're consuming, and then regulate your emotions when you're on social media. Because
yeah,
again, everybody's walking about with baggage, and there's power. People can just say what they want behind a computer. Because what are you going to do? You're going to come.
yeah,
But if you found that person in person, they'll probably never say what they said to you behind a computer. So
yeah.
don't take it. It's not all that serious. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, and you said something that's very, very, very freeing, which is the person that's leaving an ugly comment or just engaging in a very haphazard way in conversations and throwing their baggage out there, they forget what they said 2 seconds after they said it. So for the person who is receiving it, viewing it from that perspective can be very freeing because, I mean, it's very vulnerable for content creators to put themselves out there. Some of them are trying to do something hopefully purposeful. And so it's like, okay, if someone throws up on you, please remember that person has thrown up, forgotten, and moved on. So you might as well also just swipe and move on. Yeah. Very,
Yeah.
very, very nice perspective there. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Don't hold that. Like, don't hold grudges for people. They're going through a lot themselves. And if you think about it, it's not on you, it's on them. And
Yeah.
then just move on, because you know yourself. If you're a good person and you were saying something just to be helpful or whatever, or you're creating content, like
Yeah.
for content creators like yourselves, it's really difficult because you're like, I'm trying to do this to put out content, and it's perfectly good content, but nasty people will come. There's
Yeah.
people with baggage. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what you're putting out there, they're gonna bring their baggage and they're gonna dump it on you. And it's how
Yeah.
you take it, it's how you manage your own emotions as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Woo, and you can't grow without managing your emotions. So really good one. Um, Social media has changed us and how we relate in reality. So you mentioned, how we should behave in terms of regulating what we watch, being intentional and all of that. But you also mentioned that we should try and connect with real people. So now I'm trying to connect with these real people, but these real people have been infested by the social media bag. And half the time they're on their phones or they want to take a selfie. And it's just not the same as it was before this whole virtual world came into existence.
Yeah.
Are there any tips and tricks that you practice? So, for example, with my husband, when we go out for dinner, we leave our phones at home.
Yeah.
That's bad if roads get closed and we have to navigate how we get back home. But in essence, having no electronics on us means nothing is buzzing, nobody is checking a screen, and we're fully tuned in and having a conversation. And that does so much for our relationship.
Yeah.
So from our perspective, that's like the number one tip that I would give people out there. Like, just keep your phone in your handbag, put it on silent or something.
Yeah.
But in reality, so many people are just like, people have become so weird. We can't connect. Are there any tips you can give so we can stay a little bit more real and together when it
Yeah.
comes to really seeing each other in real life?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it depends on what context you're looking at it from. So, for example, we're the same on Fridays. Usually, in my house, it's movie night. It's still connecting with technology, but we're connecting with each other as well.
Yeah.
So we have a box that we put all our phones in, and we just board game night or whatever we're doing. So it depends on what context you're thinking about it from. But do you know how you said, like, how do we connect with real people in the real world? Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, church is a very big one for me. Like when I go to church, or when I'm in a community group. So I'm in a community group called Made for His Praise. We just praise and worship together.
Yeah.
We we're
I've
all friends.
attended an online version of
Oh,
your
yeah.
message. Yeah, yeah. You shared it on Facebook and I clicked through and I was like, this looks cool. Let me see. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice, Aggie. So yeah, so we just gather and we praise and worship, and you don't even feel the need for your phone or
Yeah.
for one technology, because you're connecting with real people.
Yeah.
And those people, like, the more you see them, the more you become closer, the more you understand a little bit about their values, their cultures, like, most of my friends are Nigerians. But I just love how they're just all outgoing, and they're very giving people as well. So it's just getting out of your comfort zone, which is not easy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about you, but friendships in adulthood is very complicated.
Tell me more.
It's
Tell me
very,
more.
very complicated because you have to learn to know people, and then you get to a point where, like, actually, I don't care. I don't
Hmm.
want to know people. And then you're like, but I need people. And then you're
Yeah,
like, but I can't really open up to these people because they're new to me. It's
yeah,
very, very complicated. Okay.
yeah,
So I can understand the discomfort of getting yourself out there and trying to make friends and try to know people in the real world, because sometimes, there's a lot of rejection as well.
yeah,
You're the one trying, like, even in church, you meet people in church and you're like, oh, Aggie, can we hang out? Can you guys, whatever? And it's like, oh, we're busy. We're like, and then you find yourself trying and trying and you're like, okay, nah, I'm not doing it.
yeah,
I'm in my 40s. I'm not doing it. I'm not chasing friends, you know.
yeah,
But it's very important, though. It's very important. So you just have to try and find people that you connect in values and in
yeah,
culture. And you don't need a multitude of friends. You can have quality friends, like those people that they're your go-to people. I mean,
yeah,
I think I'm in that place in my life where I feel I don't need a multitude of people that I call my friends.
yeah,
You
yeah,
if I have just a bunch of people that I know that they'll come through for me. If my kids need anything, they'll be there. If I need anything, they'll be there, and I'm the same for them.
yeah,
So it's kind of like get uncomfortable, but then it has to be working for you as well. There's
yeah,
lots of friendships that are take,
yeah,
and that doesn't work. I'm really
yeah,
sorry. I'm not gonna have friends that are constantly taking from me and not pouring into me.
yeah,
So I think as we are growing older, you kind of like start to figure out who is this person? What is a true friend to me? So it's complicated. And so that's why people find these virtual friends and they think that they're real friends, but they're
friends,
not your real friends. And
yeah,
as I said earlier, I've met some really good people on social, and we become really good, and we our children now, we see each other, we visit each other, but it's that being intentional to build those relationships.
yeah, and that reciprocation, right? Like really seeing each other. But what you mentioned about the group that you're with, activities that also take the attention away from yourself, right? Because you guys connect to praise God. So you're not
Mhm.
really looking out for what does Helen want, or what does, maybe let's create a persona, Gina, who is also part of your group. What does she want? But it's more like, how can we get together to do this thing that
Yeah,
is not really about us,
yeah.
and that also goes a long way. Yeah. Maybe the last question that I will ask today, you spoke about adulting and making friends in old age. Not in old age, we're still very young, but making friends as adults, maintaining the friendships. And I think especially for people like yourself and myself who have been rooted out of their original environments, you have to create new family setups because you don't have the luxury of your blood aunties and uncles being, around the corner from you. Um, how do we dance that dance? Because I resonate with a lot of the things that you highlighted. Like you want to make friends, you reach out, but then you also have to make sure that it's reciprocal. And then as a grown up, you also want people who understand you, like who understand when you can't make it, right? So let's assume we were supposed to meet this afternoon and you can't make it. There's some people who won't talk to you for months because because you called 10 minutes to the appointment, and you're like, I can't make it. But it's like, girl, we're grown up. I'm a mom of three. Of
Yeah.
course, it might happen that I can't make it. Like, don't take it personal. Like, share a sentence or two that comes to mind where we can just kind of do some of these things a little bit better, but also in a way that honors us and our soul.
Yeah. Aggie, this dance of friendship, it's very complicated. And yeah, I had a very personal situation with a friend a couple of years ago, and I think that opened my eyes in a way that I had never viewed friendships.
Mm.
So now I'm very protective of my space and my friends. So your question was around how do we do it safely, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How do we do it safely in a way that hold on, I can hear the drums going. Give me a second. Can you hear them or not?
I think the sound is blocking, so don't worry.
Oh, okay. So are you okay for me to continue?
Yes,
Apologies.
yes, no problem, no problem.
Yeah. I've lost my train of thought.
Yeah, we were talking about how do we do this friendship thing safely.
Yes.
You had just
So
shared.
absolutely. So I had this experience where I had you know, I don't know if I ever want to talk about it. Maybe in the future I'll talk about it. But now that I know what it is, I treat every relationship like a relationship. I'm
Mm,
not gonna take it for granted, like, oh, Aggie's gonna understand that I have 3 kids. If I meet you and we do chai, we go out for dinner, all this time, I'm trying to make you aware of my situation. And I'm trying to be very honest with you. And I will figure out if, okay, this person is connected with me because this is who I am. I bring my
mm,
whole self in that relationship. I'm a mom, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a wife, I'm a
mm,
friend to other people as well. It's not just about you. I have other people around me. And one thing
mm,
that I always do is I always introduce friends together. Like if
mm,
I have friends, I will introduce them to another friend group. So we're all in it together. Okay. But I
yeah.
treat every relationship, in all due respect, like the way you would be choosing a husband and wife, like the way you would be choosing your husband. What are those
Mm,
things you look out for? Okay.
yeah.
Are they takers? If they're just
Mm,
takers and they're not givers, like you're not going to
mm,
be on my friend list. Okay.
mm, yeah.
Are they kind to other people, not just me? Because some people will be kind to me because I have what they want or what they need, and they'll be very nasty to someone else. Are
Yeah.
they that kind of person? So the same qualities, I think, as I've, like as I've grown and I'm in my 40s now, I'm not ashamed to say, I
Yeah.
feel the need to have my list of who will be my friends and who can be my friend. And
Yeah.
when I find that person, or when I'm building a relationship with that person, they need to know my whole self. So no tantrums like I didn't show up to dinner. Yes, I have children. Okay. And you already
Yeah.
know I have children. And it's about being open and honest with
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Okay. Because some people are so needy in a friendship that they don't say like, oh, I have to say yes, or I have to keep going to her house, I have to keep taking her children, and she doesn't take my children. I'm sorry, it
Yeah.
doesn't work like that. We need to be in a relationship,
Yeah.
whether it's business relation, in any relationship. Actually, I usually tell people, you treat it the same way you would treat as you were choosing a husband or a business partner or whatever. What are
Yeah.
the qualities? What are your values? What are their values? Do they match?
Yeah.
No, it's no longer about hanging out, just hanging out.
Mm,
Bring your whole self to me as your friend, and I'm bringing my whole self to you. So we have to have that understanding, that mutual respect, that love for each other, and that kindness to each other's circumstances and situations.
yeah. Yeah. Have you had situations where you clicked with a person, but your husband didn't click with them? And what did you do about it? Or vice versa?
Yes, yes, many of those situations. My husband is very introverted. He's very, very introverted. He's not all out there. So he's got to be very comfortable with you for him to open up.
Yeah.
But there's people that he said to me, like, I really don't get that person's vibe. I'm not quite sure about that person, but the person I was before my friendship situation that I was talking about earlier, the
Yeah.
person I was always to give people the benefit of the doubt, always to give people a chance. I love people, Aggie.
I
I'm
know.
a community person. I love people. So I always try to see the best in people, even though they will take advantage of me, even though whatever. So
Yeah.
sometimes actually my husband, being the introverted person, he's like my sounding board. Like if he's
Yeah.
starting to feel some feelings about someone, then that is like my antenna going like, oh, why is he feeling like this? Or why is he thinking like this? And it's not
Yeah.
always. Sometimes I'll go ahead and be that person's friend.
Yeah.
But sometimes why is he feeling like this? And then I have to do something about it. But yeah, usually he takes in my friends. Like he will take in my friends, but yeah, there's situations where he's like, I'm not quite sure about that person. So
Yeah.
sometimes I use him as a sounding board because of his introverted nature. And maybe he's kind of like observing and viewing things
Yeah.
differently from how I'm viewing it.
Yeah. It's a well chewed through perspective that introverts sometimes have because they sit a lot with their thoughts. Yeah. Yeah. Cool
Yeah.
stuff. Last one. You're 40 now. What would you say to the 18-year-old Helen after everything that you have learned?
Live your best life every day. Live your best life every day. Adulting is a scam.
Yeah.
When we were younger, we always wanted to grow up and do this and have kids and go out abroad and do this. And then it happens and you're like, oh my word. So if I was 18, if I could go back to being 18 now, I'd be like, I'm gonna like chase my dreams. I'm gonna live my best life every day. I'm gonna make mistakes 100%. I'm
Yeah.
gonna make mistakes, but if you make a mistake, don't let it hold you back.
Yeah.
You know, just pick yourself up and start again. It's I think the thing that we underestimate is the power of starting again from a mistake. Like
Amen.
people hold on to baggage. I call it baggage because
Mm,
you've made a mistake. Like what? Move on. Let's
yeah.
try again. Let's keep trying, and you will get there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think another thing that I would say to myself that I've loved is building those relationships. You know how we're talking about friendships in adult life is really difficult.
Yeah.
I'm so blessed that my friends that I had since primary school, high school through uni are
Yeah.
still my inner circle. Like they're still in my inner
Beautiful.
circle. It doesn't matter whether we're living in different countries. It almost always feels that we pick up from where we stopped. So
Yeah.
build those relationships when you're still younger, when you're still making mistakes. When you grow up, you will thank yourself for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you grow up together and you share experiences and enrich each other. Yeah. Yeah. I know some of those people, so you're in good hands. You're in good hands. Yeah. Helen, thank you so much for your time. It's been a very, very enriching conversation.
Thanks for
I
having me.
would love, there's a topic we slightly touched on that is of so much deep interest to me. You know, that friendship that you go through and it scars you in a certain way, and it literally changes something in your nucleus. That's something that's very, very interesting to me. So if you're open to it, I would love to have you on another time when you're ready for it, just to unpack the subject of friendships and what do you do with the scars and how do you heal and what have you learned and how do you move on? Because I think there are gems in there that we could unpack some more. But only when you're ready. Only when you're ready.
Maybe one day, maybe one day.
It's been lots of gems that you have shared. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, family and your kids, for me for sharing you with me.
Oh,
And I
you're
really pray that
welcome.
all the people that watch will be blessed with this very rich conversation that we just had.
Thanks for having me, Aggie. I appreciate it.
I always ask anyone who is active on social media, if you have a business that you run on social media, or you are a content creator like myself, if you're in that space, I'm not sure you are, but if you are, please share with my viewers what kind of services you offer and where they can find you. But if you're not, then this is where we would end the conversation.
No, that's fine. I just want to say that I run a charity organization that's we support mainly black diasporans who come into the UK, and it's from a lived experience point of view, like coming into the UK not knowing systems, not understanding what to do, and then you know what we do is we support them to settle in, to understand what to do, and we do a lot of children like youth work. So we do creative arts, dancing, music, drama with children and young people. We do a lot of sports. So I don't know if any of your viewers will be in Edinburgh City, but if you're in Edinburgh and you need our services, absolutely give us a shout.
Cool.
And the organization is called Passion for Fusion.
Passion for Fusion. Do you have a link to a website or so? Because then I would put it in the description box to make sure everyone can reach you very easily.
Sure, I can send it to you.
Perfect. Wunderbar. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks everyone for watching. If you haven't yet subscribed, please make sure to do so. And Helen, thanks again. And everyone else, I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.